You said last week that Scotland, you hoped, was turning a corner on Omicron. You promised that once Scotland came out of the COVID crisis, you would table the legislation for a referendum on independence. When are you going to do that?
The preparatory work of that is underway right now. We haven't decided on the date that we would seek to introduce the bill. We'll decide that in the coming weeks. But what I have said, and I will happily say again to you right now, that my intention is to take the steps that will facilitate a referendum happening before the end of 2023. That's the proposition that just short of a year ago I fought an election on and was re-elected as First Minister. My party was re-elected with a historically high share of the vote. This is about democracy. It's about allowing the people of Scotland to choose our own future. And for goodness sake, when we look at everything that is happening, has been happening over years now in Westminster, the chaos, the instability, the unpredictability, then I think there are a growing number of people in Scotland who think actually we could do much better as an independent country in charge of our own fate rather than having people like Boris Johnson.
People also want to know when you are going to table this legislation. And in 2017, you said autumn 2018 was the common sense time for another referendum. In autumn 18, you said you'd set out your plans for an independence referendum in the not too distant future. In autumn 2019, you said the referendum must happen next year. In autumn 2020, you said you wouldn't rule out a vote in 2021. And in 2021, you said you'd start pushing for a referendum in spring 2022. When is going to be the right time?
Look, I make no apology for the fact that over the past 2 years as First Minister, I have prioritised steering the country through a pandemic. At the outset of the pandemic, I very clearly said we were putting plans for an independence referendum on hold. If only Boris Johnson had done likewise with plans around Brexit, we wouldn't be seeing some of the chaos associated with Brexit right now. But I am determined, I've won an election on this basis, to give people in Scotland the choice over our future. And I believe when that choice comes, people will choose an independent future. The preparatory work for that is underway and will determine the precise date for introducing that legislation in due course. We are hopefully, as you said earlier on, as I said earlier on the downward slope of this wave of Omicron, which clears the way for us to do that. The key thing is that we will take these steps in a timescale that will facilitate that referendum before the end of 2023, which is the commitment I made at the election and was elected on overwhelmingly.
Given that Boris Johnson's approval ratings are at rock bottom right now and support for Scottish independence is still only around 50%, if that doesn't drive support for independence, what will?
Look, Sophie, I'm laughing not at the question. I'm just laughing at reflecting the fact that if you told me when I was a much younger politician that one day 50% support for independence would be seen as some kind of failure, I would have grabbed that with both hands. Look, support for independence, I believe, is rising. I think when Scotland comes to choose, we will choose independence, not just because of the current occupant in number 10, but what that is illustrating very powerfully is the fact that Scotland too often ends up with things imposed upon us, Brexit, for example, or being governed by people and by parties that we don't choose. And all of that is the price of not being independent. Being independent is not some magic wand that takes away all challenges that we will face, but it puts our destiny, our fate, our future in our own hands.
Well, we'll have to talk about that.
That's the beauty and the essence of independence, and I believe that's what people in Scotland will choose when they get the opportunity.
Plenty more to discuss. I'm sure we'll get a chance to talk that another time. But for now, thank you very much, Nicola Sturgeon. That is all from me. Thank you for watching. We will be back next Sunday. Goodbye.